Hi, everyone, and welcome to a really exciting Lifeology expansion and announcement. As the year starts to close, there are so many opportunities that are creeping up as we head into a new year, and we are starting to feel that shift in energy. We didn't want to wait until next year to share it with you. We wanted to gift ourselves and you with it before the year comes to an end so that you can really step into the year with us in this transformation process and what we get to offer you as an incredible extension through Lifeology. So I'm going to hand over to Greg because Greg has a really long history with this new man in our life. We're very excited to announce that. So Greggy's going to do the build up because I know that I can see people joining already, waiting to see what this big announcement is. So Greggy.
Yeah. So there's a lot of excitement here in our virtual studio. This person is indeed somebody I have known for quite a large percentage of my life, and we hadn't spoken for a long time. In fact, possibly not since school. So there's a bit of a clue there. And thanks to the wonders of social media and indeed serendipity, he contacted me and said that he sees some opportunities for us to work together. And indeed, during that conversation, I could actually just feel the excitement build within myself, because not only has he got such amazing talents that are different to what Jodine and I are offering, but they are so complementary. And that was the excitement that we both felt as we continued to speak to him. And so we're very excited tonight to announce an associate to Lifeology who will be offering complementary services, and that's with an E, not with an I. They're not free services, because indeed they carry tremendous value, but they work together so well with what Jodine and I are offering. And we'll go into that a little bit more after we introduce him and let him talk about himself, because I'm sure everyone's excited to know who this is. So I'm going to introduce you to Victor Grasser.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much, guys, for the absolutely wonderful introduction. I mean, I'm absolutely flattered. But it's really wonderful to be here and to work with you, and I humbly appreciate the opportunity to be and associate myself with you, and to talk a little bit about myself, and to reach out to all those in need.
This is a very different meeting to how we met those 20 odd years ago when we were
absolutely
doing a little bit
this is
of
where
Grease
Jodine
Lightning.
cue the Grease Lightning music, and I will get on my John Travolta shoes, and Danny Zuko, here we come.
We performed in a musical together, if anyone's wondering. Yes, that's how we knew each other in school. But yeah, so Vic, do you want to tell us a little bit about your journey since then? What has happened?
Sure. And an incredible. It seems like I've lived 3 lifetimes, to be honest with you, given what I've gone through, and where I've reached, or the point I've reached in my life. I think a lot of your viewers are going to be wondering, what is transcendence healing therapy? And I think, and I get asked that quite often, and I think the best way to describe it is to share my story with them on how I actually came across THT. And that is, I'd gone through a point in my life where there was just chaos everywhere. I had tried absolutely everything. I was on antidepressants for 9 years. I was on tranquilizers. I tried psychologists, and it sort of happened around the time of my father's death, and my life that I had built over for a considerable period of time was also coming to an end. And it doesn't really matter what the actual intricacies of it was, or what I had gone through. I'm sure everybody has gone through similar tragedies in their lives. But the most important thing that I want people to understand is that I had reached a point of giving up. I'd reached a point of actually going down on my hands and knees in my office. I can actually picture it clearly. Looking at my dead father's portrait that I had in my office. And I just said, Dad, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't get what the point of life is. If this is what life is, this constant heartache, this constant pain, this feeling that never subsides, just take me. I don't want to be, I don't care. And funnily enough, it was at that point, but it was like this pure desperation that came out, almost this prayer of desperation. And the weirdest thing happened, and that was a thought came into my head, and that was, I detach with love and clarity. And I thought, that's bizarre. And then it was another sort of voice that came through and said, you need to say this over and over. And I remember I had a sales conference at that time, and I had to drive 5 hours from Johannesburg to the Drakensberg in South Africa. And I just thought, how am I going to get through this? Me alone for 5 hours in a car with this. It's not going to be pretty. And I was going through probably one of the most difficult times of my life. And I just kept saying it. And my mind kept fighting, but I just kept saying it over and over and over and over. I said that mantra for 5 hours nonstop until I got to the sales conference. And it was the bizarrest thing, because as even dealing with customers at the stand that I was manning, this was playing at the back of my mind. Well, all I can say to you is that evening was the very first time in about 8 years that I did not need to take a sleeping tablet or a tranquilizer to sleep. And I slept right through. And I felt invigorated that weekend. Needless to say, I went back and things got progressively worse. But that little experience I had kind of drove me to pursue ways of letting go, of detachment, of relieving this pain that I had. And I just said, I've got to go down this path. And the more I explored, the more I got into all different avenues of research, from quantum physics to near-death experiences to energy work, to shamanism, to neuroscience. So I almost went out on this journey to try and prove that science and spirituality kind of met somewhere, that I could prove that the spiritual side existed, but from a scientific perspective. And I started writing started writing these things down, and the more I wrote down, the more these became stories. And the more these stories started to form, the more they started to become chapters. And then I'd be having these dreams, and these teachings would come through, these methodologies, and I thought, this is the weirdest thing. But then I thought, how about I try it on me? So I was the guinea pig. And the more I started doing these exercises, these techniques that were being shown to me, and I was writing them down, the more I started feeling better. And the more I started feeling better, the more encouraged I was to carry on down this path. So much so that I'd reached a point in, all I can explain it to you is a step before ascension, a place of complete and utter bliss, which lasted for about, I don't know, about 2 weeks in my life. And it's indescribable how I felt. But how I felt was that I had completely overcome the fear of fear. I had overcome the fear of dying. I'd opened up, I had almost transcended the automated programs that we download through life that gets us to go on autopilot, and just opened up and allowed that beautiful wisdom to come through and that connection to everything. And it was the most unbelievable experience. And it was at that point that I just forgave and learned that the cornerstone, or the three principles of a successful, beautiful life, is forgiveness, gratitude, and love. And in applying that, it still takes my breath away. It still makes me emotional just thinking about that particular experience. And once I had achieved that, I said, my life will never be the same. And I now believe I need to try this on other people. So I started trying it out on friends. I started trying it out even through social media, believe it or not, and people far away. Because if you understand quantum physics, it actually addresses it, and it calls it's quantum entanglement. Regardless of the distance of the atoms, if they have an affinity to one another, there is no such things as time and space. And the most incredible things started to happen was people that had been on medication for a massive amount of time were reducing dosages, were getting off medication, pain was being released, they were getting better. They couldn't understand it. They were, in a way, what's the good word for it? They were weirded out by it. And so I started to progress with it, and started to eventually see people, and people would come to me, and I was still quite green then. So, in many ways, you are kind of concerned because, this is kind of new territory that you're on. But all I can say to you is that every single client that came my way would see incredible results and an incredible transformation. And the wonderful thing would, every time a client comes to me, I'm also learning, and I'm also releasing, So even though I'm assisting them, and it is very important that everybody understands this, is that I do not do the healing. I'm merely a vessel. And I too benefit eventually once the transformation happens from the healing and the beauty that they feel within themselves. I get to feel that too, and that's always an incredible gift to receive as well. And the most important thing, and how I like to explain it, is that when there is that shift within you, your gift to me is that I get to see God in you, and that's the beauty of this process, and that everybody that I've come across is unique. So that's the wonderful thing about THT, is that not every single session is alike. Not every person's journey is unique. But that is because your past and your past experiences and your experience through life is unique. So the methodology, the tools and the techniques that come through me to you are uniquely done for your situation. And I think that's what makes this extremely powerful. It's because it is non-denominational. And even though I have my own beliefs, I like to sit with the client and discuss their beliefs, because it is obviously a lot more powerful if I work within your belief system. And I think that's probably the best way to try and explain it. Because if you had to ask me to go into detail, I think we would probably be here for a few weeks.
Well, perhaps the best way. Well, firstly, thank you for sharing that story.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Victor, it's always inspirational. I've heard it a couple of times now, and it still touches me in a very strong way. Perhaps we're talking about the actual process now of THT, and Jodine and I have both experienced that. And what is, just to affirm what you've just said, Joe and I obviously spoke to each other after we had each had our private sessions with you, and the overarching process is the same. And obviously there's a start and an end point that is going to be the same for every session. But what happened in between was so very different for the two of us. And that is fascinating, because I have to admit that I can be quite a skeptic. I know I work in this space.
I work best with skeptics.
I work in this space, and I do all sorts of healing modalities myself, but I am still always a skeptic. And so I was intrigued at how energetically you picked that up and worked with that in my session. That was very different to Joe's.
Yes, absolutely. And that is why I mentioned it, that everybody is unique, and also working with someone's belief system. But like I said to you, remember that I'm a vessel. So what comes through is exactly what is meant to come through. And that is why sometimes I will say things where it's like, what? But it makes absolute sense to the client. And in many ways, it's like a light bulb almost comes up, you know, and almost lights that path of darkness for them. And so, for example, coming back to what you said, Greg, I mean, can you imagine dealing someone with such a strict religious background, and we start talking about the deep or the very liberal esoteric issues, there was just no way I'd be able to connect with them. That is why it's so important to work with a person's belief system. And it doesn't matter what I believe in, although I'm very proud to say that I believe in God. And the issue here is that I have a tremendous responsibility, and I pay any type of karma for being irresponsible with any client. So, and I too go through my own issues when energy is being released, when pain, trauma, chaos, entropy is being diffused, and that I mean, I often come out in styes or ulcers, and but that's just part of the process, and that's my journey. So the client doesn't need to worry about that. That's just what I need to go through. But yes, so again, everything is uniquely done the way it's supposed to do, because I'm not the healer. I'm the facilitator and the vessel. And what you need to go through gets shown through the sessions. So be it inner child work, be it a sacred book of healing, or whatever the case may be, that will form part of your journey in the release process, in the reconnection process, and in the transformative process, where you then lay the beautiful foundation for your new path that you have unveiled for yourself.
And so I think I was going to move on to how that's a good alignment. Greggy, is that a good time? So,
yeah, can I just, before
yes.
we do, let me just say that what I also found incredible is that you did the session online. You're in South Africa, I'm in the UK, and you worked perfectly well through the medium of a video call, and it's incredible that we can do that nowadays, and that's so that we can spread this sort of gift worldwide.
Absolutely, Greg. I think, in fact, when I first came across you and your company, and I said to you that, Greg, I really had to reach out to you because I felt this deep, deep, deep connection with what you're doing, and that is exactly that. Is that applying science for the more skeptic? It's a question of quantum physics, and space and time is non-existent in the quantum world, as you know. And so if there is an affinity, or if you do energy work and you're working with atoms, you're working with cells are sentient. So all we need to do is communicate with them in the right way. Once that is done, it is just as effective as you being in the studio.
I found that moving the tarot readings online, I've literally, the readings there's been such a new level of clarity when I'm the only person who works with the cards, because I can just feel the energetic connection with the other person, and the readings have been so much clearer since it's been this online process. So yeah, I'm in absolute agreement with that.
No, definitely. I think it's, as Greg said, without doubt, it's a wonderful medium to actually reach all corners of the globe. Isn't that quite an ironic statement, right? All corners of the globe. And to those people that really, really need it. And what better way than as it was in the past? Oh my God, there's this person, but they're all the way in South Africa. How on earth am I going to go and see that person? Well, now it is a lot easier to do, and all you need to do is literally go online and book a session.
That is amazing.
So we're very happy to offer this service as part of our suite of products. So there's the web address. The products are up and available with some more information under the product listing, so you can get a little bit more on what exactly each session entails. But Joe, you earlier on you were saying about how it ties in. None of what we offer actually stands alone. Everything works together, depending on where you are in your life, what your story is, what your belief system is. We believe that we have something to offer you.
And for me, there's such an incredible thread in the process, because when we do the tarot and the numerology, especially within the past life tarot, or digging into those numbers, when we do all the archetype work, then people sit with this understanding that I have this work to do, and these are the places where I can identify that healing needs to be done. But then there was this kind of, I mean, we've got the transformation coaching, which I know is extremely supportive, and we're there to really support on that level of processing. But to be able to now have a client, I'm so excited to go through this process and, for example, do one of these past life readings and know where some of these aspects are that are coming up. I mean, Vic, that's exactly what you and I did together. The stuff that had come up in this past life reading, stuff that I know that I've brought in from all these lifetimes ago, and then to heal on that level was so absolutely incredible for me. And I love that tie-in. And then just to know that there's someone who's so supportive in that process, and that's how I really see we've worked so well. We didn't have to work hard because it's so natural. It was such an easy conversation for us to know that a lot of this might start within a tarot or numerology or archetypes, and then this flow into sessions with Vic, and then this time with Greg to really have the compassion to guide you through this process and into the other side. And it's just the timing from the universe, and every single thing is so ideal in this incredible collaboration to have come along.
Without a doubt, Jodine, and in our sessions, Jodine and Greg, we discuss this in terms of how it flows beautifully. And if I look at there's three screens up right now, and I touch Greg over there, and I touch Jodine over there, so it kind of all flows beautifully, and that is from an investigative point of view, in terms of a deep discovery, in terms of what could have transpired in the past that you've brought into this reality that is the human existence. And let's not forget about epigenetics, and that is the trauma and the pain that your parents go through, that are passed through DNA when you are born, and many times that's why you see children and you can't understand their behavior, or because they live in such good homes, so they should ultimately be happy children, but they're not. And in many ways, epigenetics is responsible for that. So the discovery of the past is almost an essential ingredient to the process. And then obviously the sessions that you would go through me, and that is from identification and release and transformation, acceptance, gratitude, love, and get into a point of, okay, well, I've arrived. And that is where Greg comes in with his incredible ability to mentor people, to affect that change management, which is such an essential ingredient in people's lives today. And also, Greg is, Greg is, we've had this conversation about empathy, right? And you know how I feel about the word empathy. And I think Greg transcends that. Greg transcends it. See, Greg transcends that, and I think he is the genuine article. So he treats you with genuine compassion. He genuinely wants to get you through this process, and that, I think, is without doubt his greatest strength in the process.
Thank you. And I look forward to that. Yeah. And I look forward to working together with you two wonderful people.
Thank you.
And with all the wonderful people out there. Yeah. So thank you. Thanks for this. Thanks for this, Vic and Joe. And yeah, hopefully there'll be some more chats. Vic, we hope to see you a lot more on our channel from here on out.
I look forward to it. And thank you for the very generous invitation, the very warm welcome, and the fabulous energy that always surrounds our sessions. I'm very grateful for that.
Such a pleasure. Good. We'll see you all soon.
Great.